September 14th, 2014, from Lambeau Field in Green Bay, Wisconsin. It was the New York Jets at the Green Bay Packers. And what a game this was. The Jets won the toss and elected to the first. The Packers started off with the ball, and on the very first play, Aaron Rodgers fumbles. So the Jets took over on the Green Bay 16 and made short work of the short field as they ended up scoring a touchdown as Richardson was reported as eligible, but then Geno Smith ran it in for a 1-yard touchdown as they faked out the Packers defense, and it was now 7-0 Jets. Green Bay then took over, but they would end up punting on their next drive, and now New York had the ball with just 11 minutes in the first quarter, as only 4 minutes had gone by. They had the ball on their own 16. They got all the way down to the Green Bay 29 as they were in field goal range, and on 3rd and 3, Geno Smith found Eric Decker for a 29-yard touchdown pass to put the Jets up 14-0 as they now had a 2-touchdown lead on the Pack. But don't count out the Packers in Lambeau Field. The tundra isn't frozen, but the Packers are red hot. And with 8.5 minutes left in the first quarter, they finally got on the board when Mason Crosby, 11 plays into the drive, 4 minutes after getting the ball, hit a 31-yard field goal to make it 14-3 as the Packers put their first points on the board. The Jets would get the ball with about 4 minutes left in the first. They ended the first quarter, and they began the second quarter with the ball, and they would march all the way down to the Green Bay 4-yard line, and that's where Chris Ivory ran it in for a 4-yard touchdown, and the score was now 21-3 as the Jets were up by 18 points at this point. So now there was about 11 minutes left in the second quarter before halftime, and the Packers drove downfield another long drive, 13 plays, 62 yards, about 5 minutes. And it would be capped off by a Mason Crosby field goal, this time a 20-yarder, as it was now 21-6 as they cut the lead to 15 points, which is obtainable with 2 touchdowns and 1 2-point conversion. So the Jets now had the ball, and they went 3 and out. So the Pack got the ball back with 4.5 minutes left before halftime, and once again, the result of their drive would be a Mason Crosby field goal, this time a 55-yarder, and it was now 21-9. So the Packers were chipping away. So now the Jets had the ball with 3 minutes left before halftime, and they started their drive on their own 48, right there at midfield. They marched into field goal range at the Green Bay 27, and on 1st and 10, Geno Smith dropped back to pass and threw an interception as Williams gave the Packers back the ball on their own 3-yard line with less than 2 minutes left before halftime. But that didn't deter Aaron Rodgers as he drove the Pack 10 plays, 97 yards in less than 2 minutes, capped off by the Packers' first touchdown of the game, a 6-yard touchdown pass from Rodgers to Cobb. So now the lead of the Jets was just down to 5 points, and this game went into halftime as the Jets had to be wondering where did their lead go, as they had been up 14-0. So the Jets were up by 5 points to start the second half, but they would end up punting on their first drive, and then the Packers went 3 and out. But then the Jets punted for the second consecutive drive, so the Packers got the ball with about 9.5 minutes left in the third, and it took them 8 plays to go 67 yards in less than 4 minutes as Aaron Rodgers hit Cobb for the second time in this game. This one was for a 1-yard touchdown pass that made it 24-21 as they went for 2 points, and they were successful. So now the Jets had the ball with about 6 minutes left in the quarter, and they ended up driving into field goal range, and Nick Folk hit a 52-yard field goal to make this game tied at 24. So now the Packers got the ball, and they started off their drive on their 20-yard line, and then Aaron Rodgers does what he does best, and that's throw the deep threat, the bomb to Jordy Nelson, 80-yard touchdown pass to put the Packers up 31-24. It's Jordy Nelson does the Lambeau leap. So now there was 2 minutes left in the third, and the Jets had the ball, but they would end up punting. So the Packers would bring the third quarter to a close and open up the fourth, but then they would end up punting as well. So the Jets got the ball back, but they went 3 and out and punted back to the Pack. The Pack would punt again, as it was all defense in the fourth quarter. The Jets had the ball and they were charging as they got all the way down into field goal range, but they went for it on 4th and 8 as they needed a touchdown and there was less than 4 minutes left and they did not trust their defense to get the ball back, and they ended up turning the ball over on downs with 3.5 minutes left, and the Packers were able to just run the clock down as they picked up a first down and brought the ball to midfield, and then Aaron Rodgers took a couple of knees, and that was that, as the Pack wins 31-24 and evens up their record at 1-1. And in this game, Aaron Rodgers was 25 for 42 with 346 passing yards and 3 touchdowns. Geno Smith was 16 for 32 with 176 passing yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 interception. And the leading rusher was a tie between Chris Ivory and Eddie Lacy. They both had 13 carries, and they both had 43 yards. The difference, Chris Ivory had a touchdown. But Eddie Lacy was okay with that because he got the W along with the rest of the Packers. The leading receiver in this game was Jordy Nelson, as he had a phenomenal 209 yards off of 9 receptions, including that 80-yard touchdown. So the Packers come from behind to beat the Jets as their defense came up big after letting up some points early on. Burnett had 11 tackles, and A.J. Hawk had 10 tackles as well. And Daniels and Matthews each had a sack, as well as 5 tackles to go with that. So the Packers defense comes up big. Williams had the interception. They shut things down in the 4th. And Aaron Rodgers leads the Pack to a comeback victory as they went ahead. And Jordy Nelson was the hero of the day with that 80-yard touchdown. The Packers win 31-24 as they even up their record at 1-1. And the Jets are also at 1-1 as they now fall behind the Buffalo Bills in the AFC East.